Welcome to Flow of Miracles Reflective Moments. And this is a continuation of the childhood series. So if you haven't listened to any of them before, check out childhood development, and childhood healing. And today I'll be speaking about our inner child. A lot has been said about inner child healing because this is, of course, a very well known spiritual technique. In a nutshell, the idea is that we all have a part of ourselves that we call the inner child. It's a part of us that is childlike, filled with wonder and love, but also houses our childhood wounds. So it's very important to regularly connect to our inner child and to make sure that the needs of our inner child are being met, and of course, that we parent our inner child. So today I'll be speaking more about these reflective questions and about the technique of the inner child healing that is available to us when we choose to work with our inner child energies. On my YouTube channel, you'll also find inner child energy on the manifestation meditation and a joy of the inner child energy video as well. This is because inner child energy is so important to us. If those energies are balanced and welcome, we feel revitalized, we have a good connection with wonder and with passion and with joy. So I highly recommend that everybody takes some time to work with inner child energies. So the first reflective question is, can you connect to your inner child? It is very important that we learn how to connect to our inner child. There are many different ways to do that. You can do that with a meditation. You can choose to do a visualization. You can do automatic writing or any other kind of technique to connect to a part of yourself. Sometimes the inner child is filled with rage and anger when there's a lot of childhood wounds. Sometimes the inner child is joyful and playful, so sometimes it can be quite easy to connect to our inner child, and sometimes it can be quite hard to do so. When our inner child is being triggered by something painful, we might shy away and feel that it's difficult to connect to that anger. We might not want to feel childish. We might not want to connect to those resentful parts of ourselves. We might try to just hide from our energy. And of course, when our inner child is on the forefront, when we're happy, when we're joyful, when we're childlike in a way that's filled with wonder, it might feel so natural to us that we aren't even recognizing that we're connecting to our inner child. So, as a reflective question, it's quite important to understand if you are able to connect to your inner child and how you do that. It is so important to practice connecting to your inner child with all its moods and all its needs and all its wishes and dreams so you get the full experience of the energy. So, I highly recommend that you practice connecting to your inner child often, and that when it is available to you, you actually start recognizing this energy. And the next reflective question is, do you accept the needs of your inner child? A lot of times people feel that they don't want to be childish, they don't want to actually deal with what they were missing in their childhood, they don't actually want to acknowledge that they were hurt or they have childhood wounds, so they do not want to accept the needs of their own inner child. They shy away from toys that they would like to play with or hobbies that call to them because they feel it's childish. They shy away from understanding that they're looking for energy from a mother or a father or looking for approval. And even when people are dealing with really, really difficult parents, they do not want to acknowledge that their inner child kind of needs that approval. They want to be above that, especially if the bond between parent and child is very difficult and maybe even completely severed. It does not mean that our own inner child is not still longing for approval. And it's so important to understand and meet the needs of your own inner child. I personally really like all kinds of visualizations that allow us to connect to our own inner child and to actually hug them, give them love, tell them that things are going to be okay, and meet them where they're at. And it's often quite surprising that when people do an exercise like that to meet the needs of their own inner child, that the child has an age that they were not expecting. Sometimes people see their inner child as a baby and recognize that their parents were overwhelmed and they didn't get the connection they needed. Sometimes they are 3 or 4, and sometimes they're teenagers. It doesn't matter what age your inner child is at. What matters is that you want to heal your inner child and that you want to meet those needs so you can move forward and you do not sabotage your adult life. So make sure that you welcome all the needs of your inner child and accept that are just wounds that are begging to be healed. And that when we do that, we stop sabotaging our lives. We stop seeking approval from people who might never give that to us, or we might start seeking approval in other figures in our lives that are resembling our parents. We will actually build something that is wonderful in our adult lives when the needs of our inner child are met. So it is very important to actually deal with that all the time and recognize that our inner child needs healing, needs love, needs to be welcomed, needs to be encouraged, needs to be supported. And when we give that energy to us, our self love will grow. When we give that energy to ourselves, the bonds with other people will heal and become healthier. When we work with our own inner child, we're working with a very vulnerable part of ourselves that will allow us to feel more loved, more cherished, more grounded. So, the last reflective question is also the most difficult one. That is, are you parenting your own inner child? We just talked about what our own inner child needs, but what it also needs is a parent which is loving, but also a parent. So sometimes our inner child is busy with a huge tantrum, and they will tell you that they don't feel like working, or they don't feel like doing this boring stuff, or they don't feel like eating right, or they don't feel like etc etc. An inner child energy can be very sabotaging because children do not think long term. Children think short term only, and they cannot see the consequences of their actions. So when your inner child is telling you to just not do the work, they are not seeing that this is going to cause problems down the road. They're just seeing that they don't feel like doing the work. They just feel like they want to play. They just feel like you need different energy in your life. So if we just work with our own inner child as a parent, we see where we are shirking responsibility. We see where we're not dealing with consequences fairly. We see where we need to be strict with ourselves, because inner child energy that is not balanced, that is not healthy, will self sabotage. You see that also when children are growing up. Teenagers will self sabotage. They will not learn the lessons easily. Often they will not do the work, and then when the consequences come knocking, they're upset and they're screaming and they're saying how unfair it is that they failed the course, or that their friends don't like them anymore, or that you were mad at them for not doing their chores. This is a part of life. If you ask a 3 year old what they want to eat, they're not going to ask for a balanced meal most of the time. They're going to ask for things that are good for them in moderation. So we need to moderate our own inner child. We need to actually work and parent our own inner child. Especially if we were not parented, we need to do the parenting, because absent parents, whether that's because they were busy, whether it's because they didn't connect to you, whether it's for all kind of trauma reasons, means that our own inner child didn't get their needs met, but also means that they never got any pushback as healthy boundaries. They never got any pushback at healthy adulting. They didn't learn the lessons of wisdom and emotional regulation that they needed to learn. So if you notice that you were not parented and you notice that your own inner child needs parenting, this is where you need to do it. So ask yourself with this reflective question: how much are you self sabotaging your adult life? Are you eating healthy things for you? Are you sleeping enough? We all know that children always yell that they're not tired and then they collapse. If you're still doing that in your adult life, you know your inner child needs moderation. Your inner child needs to be parented because as an adult, your body is not doing well with not enough sleep. And even as a child, your body is not doing well with not enough sleep. So, parenting your inner child allows you to move away from the self sabotage and build healthy habits that will actually help you adult in a way that is perfect and stable and grounded. So, if you have troubles cleaning your room or cleaning your house, and if you never feel like that, you're not special, you're one of us. Most of us never feel like cleaning our homes, but we all choose to parent our inner child and say, no, we need to keep things clean. We need to move forward and make sure that our environment is okay and we don't attract bugs and we know where our stuff is and we don't lose time looking for stuff that we misplace or stepping on stuff that breaks because it's not on the right spot. So, parenting your own inner child is paramount to healing your own inner child. If you do not parent your own inner child, you will continue to self sabotage in really harmful ways. And I've seen that a lot, that there's not enough love for your own inner child, and people think that they really need to spoil their own inner child, and that is often true, but we also need to parent. So I hope you learned a lot more about childhood and about parenting and healing your own inner child. And if you like this series, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will be back with the last episode about childhood, which is about childhood and parenting.